that have never who've been on it before, I gotta go over everything. I gotta go from top to bottom so they can understand what they're doing. So the DS11, this is how you gonna fill it out. Let me see if I can type in this thing. I need like a PDF filler. Hold on, let me pull up the old DS11 to make it easier. Pull up the one I already got. Okay, see, this is the old one, but we're going to use this one and then we'll go back and forth between the new one. I'll show you how to navigate this. All right, so let me do a new share. All right, there we go. This was the old way. And if you got these applications, they do let these go through sometimes. So let's go to the application. I really want to go to the part about the application. All right, on number one, you're going to put your last name, then in your first name, and if you have a middle, you're going to write that out, lowercase. Number two, you're going to put your date of birth, and then you're going to check off whether you're male or female. They haven't gotten to the gender identity thing just yet. So, place of birth. To the new people, give me one person, speak up. Where were you born? What state?
Ohio.
Ohio? Okay, so what city in Ohio?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. So you'll put Cleveland, Ohio, United States of America here. See how I have Brooklyn, New York, United States of America? You're going to put that there. All right? Now, here's the major difference. Number 5, we're not putting socials there. You're going to put zeros there. And I know the people that have been with me a while said I told y'all not to do that, but for the sake of the IRS debt and the child support, that is how they're pulling those accounts up through that number. That's how they attach to you. So when you get to the mailing address where you want, though, let's talk about 6. Number 6, you will put your email address. Number 7, you'll put your telephone number. I will address number 5 later on when I start showing the templates. So, everybody following me so far?
Yes.
Okay, somebody's coming in.
Yep.
All right. Number 8, you're going to put in care of your address where you want it to be mailed, but listen very carefully. Do not have it mailed to an address that is connected to you by way of the IRS or child support. Are we clear?
Yes.
Definitely.
All right. City, you're going to put the city where you want it to mail. The state, you're going to put 2-letter state, and you're going to put that in brackets. In the zip, you're going to put all zeros, or you could put all 9s and put it in brackets. The country, the brother said he was born from Ohio, right? He's going to put Ohio, USA there. Even though it says country, if outside the United States, Ohio, USA is outside of the United States. All right. Now, number 9 is list all other names you have used. Example, birth name, mating, previous marriage, legal name changes. So if you had your name changed for a man, legally, you will put the old name here. If you change your name legally, you're going to put number 1 is going to be the name you changed it to. Number 9 is going to be the name you changed it from. Women, just as for the sake of the ladies who got married, you're going to put your previous name, maiden name here. Okay? Previous marriage, it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay? We're going to skip over that part for now. I'm going to go to number 10. Let's go to the top of the application. It says name of applicant, last, first, middle. Put that in, then put the date of birth. Then You're going to get to your parents. You're going to do your father's name first. And how they want it. First, middle name. First and middle, then put the last name. Father names go here first. Then you do the mother. Now, if you don't know your parents' date of birth, that's not going to be a big deal. I didn't know mine, and I didn't write it in. Okay, they don't care about that. Then place of birth, for the sake of the brother who said Ohio, is going to be Ohio, United States of America. All right? Well, you're going to put wherever your father was born. So if he wasn't born in Ohio, he was born, what state was your dad born in? You know?
Ohio.
Ohio. So he's going to be the same as yours. So United States of America, and you're going to put the male for sex, and then U.S. citizen, you're going to say no. Okay? Then you're going to do your mother's name. Same situation with her. First, middle, last. Then her date of birth, if you know it. You don't know it. Then you're going to put her place of birth, whatever state it is, United States of America, female, U.S. citizen, no. Number 11, have you ever been married? So if you've ever been married, you're going to put your latest spouse, current spouse or most recent spouse name there, their date of birth and place of birth, just like you would do your parents. If it's New York, it's USA. And citizenship, no. U.S. citizenship, no. Date of marriage, if you know it, or put a roundabout date. Have you ever been widowed or divorced? That's a yes or no. And put the date if it applies. If you've been divorced, you put it applies. It don't have to be specific. Some people don't really remember those days. If you want to put an additional contact number, that is completely optional. You can if you want to. Occupation, number 13. Listen very carefully. You're going to put minister, pastor, priest, rabbi, whatever religious affiliation you want to call yourself. Deacon, you're going to put that there. That's your occupation, because the affidavit is done strictly on your religious background, okay? Employer or school, you can put the name of your church if you have one. When I say you have a church, I mean your church, not somebody else's church. I forgot what I put there, but I would not put a job or anything on there. You know, some type of religious, you want to say you work for, employer or school. And you don't even have to put anything there, because it says if applicable. So you don't have to put anything in it. Put your height, hair color, eye color, travel plans. Very important. You need to have some travel plans. And you're going to make, when I say travel plans, I mean you can go book a room in Canada and print out the itinerary. You don't necessarily mean you're going to go there. Doesn't mean you're going to go there. I want you to book something, because of the situation you're in with the IRS and the child support debt. You cannot process your application like everybody else by walking up to the post office and doing it. You're going to have to go and sit in front of them and fight your battle and show them how unconstitutional it is. So they're going to have to tell you to your face no. Not send it in the mail and wait 2 to 3 weeks. Wait 2 to 3 weeks for them to say, no, you owe this debt. Nah, we're not playing that game. We're going in there. So the only way you're going to get in there is to have plans to leave the country within, I think, 2 weeks. You can read the rules on that. You can find out what the rules are. You're going to make an appointment and you're going to sit with them and you're going to present your paperwork. Okay? Because what you want is them to, they can't, when you start talking religion, they can't really fight you on that. So this is why. See, anything you have fear of, you are making it your God. Because God didn't give you the spirit of fear. That's clearly said in the Bible. He didn't give it. You give yourself that by choosing false gods. See, false god is not just a golden calf that you worship. A false god is when you get into a situation and you think that situation is bigger than God. That becomes your God in that moment because you think this situation is more powerful than the God that gave you life. Our success and failure is not dependent on what the government do, what Trump do, what Kamala do, what issues she supports and what issues she. Our success is not dependent on that. I can tell you one thing, our failure is dependent on that. Because if you sitting up there looking for them to make changes for you, I guarantee you that's a recipe for failure for you. Because that's not the God you're supposed to be looking at. You're supposed to be looking at the God in you. And the God in you says, don't worry about tomorrow. Because tomorrow has its worries of its own. Do I not feed the birds in heaven? And I know every hair on your head. I can count them. So I already know what you need. I already know what you want. And I'll give you what you need. And I'll give you what you want. All you have to do is put forth the kingdom of heaven first. Then all these things will be added to you. Peace. What's up? Gotta check my mic. You know how I be playing games and it won't open up my mic when I switch from playing the video. But tonight it seems like it's good. It's all good right now. It's December the 17th. December is halfway over. I mean, what? A little over 10 days and it's bad. We're gonna be talking about a new year, December 31st, New Year's ritual, the money ritual. I already sent the email out for everyone to participate. It's in the Telegram chat room and it's also on the I sent it by way of email yesterday. I know it took me a while to get it out. I apologize. So a lot of things is going on and it just seems like we're living in some type of, I don't know, things are just moving so fast. They got drones flying over New Jersey, New York. They claim they don't know what they are, what they're about. And then I saw a few videos where people were trying to shoot them down. I think in South Carolina, there was some drone and they shot it down. I don't know if that's true or not because it was on. It's kind of hard to tell what's true or not because we have AI generated videos, AI generated voiceovers. So you got to be careful in what you say is a fact now. But I know the drones are a fact. That's a fact. Because they've had news conferences over it. Like you got all these drones and they're over someplace. What is it? Some place, city in New Jersey. But no one's really saying what these drones are for, who they're from, and some of these drones are like almost the size of small cars. So that's interesting, right? Like, and then I noticed, I saw the chemtrail, you see the planes pumping out this gas or fumes behind the planes flying. But this week, the activity of that people call it chemtrails is up, way up. Like, I mean, it's an unusual amount of activity of them spraying the skies. And anytime you hear, why would the government spend so much money just to spray the skies? And then it gets cloudy. It looks like a cloud, but it's not a cloud.
What is the purpose of that? There's all of these mysteries. So that brings me to the topic tonight. You know, why this year of all years, Sean Puffy Combs gets locked up, gets get raided. And that's been like the theme of this year, right? I think a couple of years ago, it was R. Kelly. Then we had the Jamie Foxx incident where he had this mysterious thing going on. Then some years back, it was Bill Cosby. Went to jail, got out. You know, Bill Cosby was trying to buy one of those major networks a couple of times. And every time, the first time he tried it, his son ended up dead. Second time, he had allegations. Third times, he went to jail. But it's always a backstory of them trying to level up and they get issues. I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know it. And I pretty much keep up with stuff. But Sean Puffy Combs had a lawsuit against a major company that distributes his alcohol, you know, the Ciroc brand and some tequila brand that he's selling, right? So the basis of the complaint is that they were just marketing those brands to people of color, black folks. African Americans is how they term it, right? And wasn't really making it an international brand or a national brand where it marketed to everyone. And he was feeling like that was being discriminatory because it was limiting his brand to just one sector of people. Like, for instance, you know how they market those malt liquors like 0800, English 800, Colt 45s, and what's the other one? There's another one, that malt liquor. My aunts and uncles used to drink that stuff like water when I was a kid. And it was another Old English, Colt 45, King Cobra. It's another one. In New York, we call them 40 ounces, right? They just big 40 ounce, and it was crazy. They would just buy one big bottle, share that amongst themselves. Instead of just going to get a case, they would just go back and forth to that little corner store in the Bronx on East 225th Street and just go back and forth, buy one at a time. And you know why they did that? Because they didn't want to buy a lot, because it limited their sharing capabilities. Because usually it's just one person who got the money to buy the stuff. And I remember they just used to sit around just drinking that all day, not really eating food. I guess that's why I don't like drinking. I like it because I saw too much of it as a kid. And I can see how it destroys a person's ambitions. Like, they never really grew up from the time they started drinking, basically to the time they passed. They never really grew up. They still were doing the same thing when they were still living the same way when they passed as when I was a kid. Drinking, trying to look for the next party or the good time. And what was really happening there? They were just trying to drink away their what do you call? I would say depression, or their lack of knowing who they are. They were lost. They didn't know the power that they really possessed. Public assistance. I know these things very well. I know all of this. I've seen it firsthand as a kid. Not to judge them or anything, but I saw how when you start something at a young age, like children who start people who start drinking at a very young age, it is very hard for them to give that up, and they carry that on to their adult. Next thing you know, they're 50, 60, and they're still doing and haven't grown, haven't moved or elevated. Why? Because all of those things that they're taking into their body keeps them at a low vibration. And it steals their ability to want to level up. But back to the whole Sean Puffy Combs. I'm going to read the case to you. And the timelines are interesting because this lawsuit took place early part of January 2024. And in March of 2024, his house got raided. And then after that, they locked him up. I'm going to read some of it as much as I can so you can kind of get a idea. And this was all done in the New York court system. The court of the state of New York, county of New York. So this is Manhattan, New York, what we would call Manhattan, New York is another name for Manhattan, right? Vice versa. It says plaintiff, Combs Wines Spirits LLC. This is his company, Puffy Combs Company. Combs Wines files this complaint against Diageo North America, Inc. Diageo, and alleges as follows. Now, how I got onto this case, I was looking at Dr. Umar did an interview and he was breaking this down. So I don't like to listen to what people say, so I go read it and see what he says has some validity. And everything he said, according to what I've read so far, I didn't read everything, is valid. So before I give you my opinions, let's just read some of this. Nature of the action. In public, Diageo, a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded spirits company. So this is a multi-billion-dollar so this is a public company. So any type of lawsuit that they would receive, that would hurt investors. So there was a lot of interested parties at stake with this lawsuit. It didn't say $1 billion, it said multi-billion-dollar company. Now, just in the comments, I just want, before I read this, go through this. Tell me, did y'all know that there was a lawsuit going on early last year? Did y'all have any idea? The lawsuit was filed in May 31, 2023, a year early, but it was settled in around January 2024. They settled. So let me correct that. The lawsuit was filed in May of 2023. And then in January of 2024, they voluntarily just closed down the case, or they dismissed Puffy dismissed his complaint against them. And then they went into some secret negotiation. And what happened essentially was the brands that Combs had, Ciroc and the other, I think, tequila that he sold under his company, the big company, multi-billion-dollar company, Diageo, took that brand. So, of course, that means there was some monetary settlement there, and it was probably huge. And then shortly thereafter, his home got raided. And then they made you focus on baby oil, which is, to my knowledge, you can buy that any Walmart, Walgreens, whatever, they made us focus on baby oil. They gave you the baby oil. He had all this baby oil in his. See, the one thing about organized chaos, and that's an actual technique that is used to create distractions. Organized chaos, what seems chaotic is really organized to look like it's chaotic, but it's really a strategy. Because all I heard when they talking about all this baby, everybody was making jokes about it, making videos about it, talking about this baby oil they found, hundreds of boxes of baby oil. Okay, maybe he was going into the baby oil. I don't know what the purposes was. But whenever you're given something like that, there is something else going on. media is no longer about delivering you the truth about what's going on so that you can make good decisions on, what you want to do with your life or whatever. It's about who can get the story out first and who can tell it the best, whether it's true or not. Who gets there be the first to let it go and be recognized for the storyteller, and who can sensationalize it the best. I remember when I was in 5th grade, my 5th grade teacher, I'll never forget, Mr. Moyne, was talking about what the news job was, is to create propaganda. I didn't understand what he was saying at the time. I really didn't grasp propaganda. He was talking, I said, what is this guy talking about, propaganda and all this stuff? Now I understand. But I remember the class. You have to remember, everything you're being seen, what's on TV is scripted and organized to give you a certain viewpoint. And here's the issue. Most people look at this stuff and it becomes fact for them. Well, it came after him. He must have did something wrong. It's like as if y'all forgot. There's so many people behind bars that didn't do anything. They just was the ones they wanted to get. And then then they use people that look like you to come after you. And I don't know what is true or not, but the court says this, the law says this. You are innocent until proven guilty, but if you look at these things, it's never that way. People will deem you guilty by association, guilty because people say you are. They already convict you before they don't even have all the facts and they say you're wrong. And we, as a people, we don't stick together at all. As soon as we see one of ours going down, we start commenting and saying our negative stuff about it. Oh man, that's mad. He did that. But no, we say people do something and we weren't even in the room when all this stuff went on. It's interesting. What was that? Hugh Hefner had the Playboy Mansion for years. Young girls going in and out of there. No lawsuits. All the celebrities hung out over there. And guarantee you somebody was underage in there. So, but one thing about our community I could say is factual. In general sense, we are haters of any one of us that rise to a level of having a lot of money. So what that means is it makes it very easy for another group of people to create a narrative that's negative about that person and get us to attack. They don't attack them. They use us to attack each other through the narrative. And prior to that, everybody, Puffy, everybody want to dance and party. Now he's got these problems. Oh, he's a demon. And we forget about where the real demons lie. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. Let's keep going. Diego's public statement tout that it supposedly believes the most inclusive and diverse culture makes for better business and a better world. And that diversity fuels growth and innovation and ensures we can authentically sell our brands to our consumers. 2, cloaking itself in the language of a diversity and equality is good for Diageo's business, but it is a lie. While Diageo may conspicuously include images of its black partners in advertising materials and press releases, its words only provide the illusion of inclusion. This is actually in the complaint. As Combs Wines and Sean Combs have experienced firsthand, Diageo by and through its parent company's chief executive officer, Ivan Menezes, has proven unwilling to treat its black partners equally, even when explicitly required by contract to do so. 3, Sean Diddy Combs is the owner of Combs Wines and has a long-standing business relationship with Diageo. for two spirits brands, Ciroc Vodka and DeLeón Tequila. Based on Diageo's false promises about investing in diverse owned and diverse black brands, Mr. Combs has put the full force of his marketing, business, and personal resources into his Diageo partnership. But because he knows that contracts matter more than press releases, Mr. Combs insisted that Diageo agree to certain terms to ensure his brands were not ignored or relegated to second-class status, but instead treated equally. Specifically, his agreement with Diageo contains this part is redacted. It's redacted because at some point there was a motion put forth to redact certain specific contractual arrangements because that would violate or it will violate privacy or some type of non-disclosure agreements when it came to their contracts. So they don't want people to see the terms of their contract in the public, how they structure these things. So that part was redacted. 4, rather than equal treatment, Diageo has treated Mr. Combs and his brands worse than others because he is black. Diageo has typecasted Ciroc and DeLeón, apparently deciding they are black brands that should be targeted only to urban consumers. Diageo's president of Reserve and New Business, Stephen Russ, directly acknowledged the company's racist undertones in 2019, telling Mr. Combs that some within Diageo's leadership resented him for making too much money. See what happens? Brother make money, they don't like it. They can't have that. They can't have it. And you coming at him in court using the legal system. He also admitted that Mr. Combs' race was part of the reason Diageo limited the neighborhoods where the Combs brands were distributed. If Mr. Combs was Martha Stupid, Mr. Russ said things would be different. Wow. Diageo, Mr. Menezes, and Mr. Russ have put their feet on the neck of Mr. Combs' brands in a business where production, distribution, and sales are the pillars of success. Ciroc and DeLeón have been starved of resources for all three. While Diageo invested in and expanded its other brands, many of which were acquired after Ciroc and DeLeón, Mr. Combs' brands were allowed to wither, getting increased attention only if Combs Wines demanded it under threat of legal action. In a proceeding not before this court, Mr. Combs intends to seek billions of dollars in damages due to Diageo's neglect and breaches. Diageo cannot even reasonably dispute that DeLeón has been treated less favorably than brands like Casamigos, Don Julio's. Instead, Diageo claims that it required only to provide DeLeón proportionally equal treatment. But it was Diageo that kneecapped DeLeón's sales growth for nearly a decade and now says that because DeLeón has not yet reached the same sales limits as competing brands, Casamigos and Don Julio, Diageo need not provide it with the same scale support. Diageo's self-fulfilling prophecy not only ignores Diageo's legal obligation, but also ignores the growth that Mr. Combs and Combs Wine have recently won for DeLeón in the marketplace. Diageo will squander that hard-fought growth if it continues to treat DeLeón as a mere proportional priority. Unfortunately, this is not the first time Diageo has had to answer for its unequal treatment of its black partners. Through the present lawsuit, Combs Wine seeks to finally put an end to Diageo's long-standing misconduct. Combs Wines demands nothing more than what Diageo has promised to consumers, shareholders, business partners, and Combs Wines itself. Diageo must be ordered by a court to give Combs Wines the same treatment it gives its other successful tequila brands. It is time that Diageo's actions match its words. Introduction. Mr. Combs is a powerful force in both entertainment and business. Internationally renowned as a musician, music producer, entrepreneur, actor, film, and television producer, and philanthropist, Mr. Combs has established a vast following among his fans and the general population. Mr. Combs has used this acclaim to grow his businesses and those of his partners in a wide variety of industries, including media, health and wellness, fragrances, and fashion. Diageo first approached Mr. Combs more than 15 years ago. In 2007, Diageo contacted Mr. Combs to help grow its then struggling vodka brand Ciroc. Mr. Combs agreed to use his widely known name and influence to help promote and market Ciroc. To show his commitment to Diageo Ciroc, Mr. Combs agreed to, this part is redacted also. But in return, Diageo promised, and that's redacted as well. The years following the signing of the Ciroc agreement were filled with consistent supply issues and lack of meaningful distribution. Despite Mr. Combs' repeated pleas, Diageo failed time and time again to devote the proper attention, resources, and support to Ciroc. But even in the shadow of Diageo's neglect, Mr. Combs sparked spectacular growth for the once fledgling brand. Mr. Combs' impact is proven by the numbers. In 2007, Ciroc sold only about 75,000 cases per year. In just 2 years after Mr. Combs began promoting Ciroc, annual sales grew to about 400,000 cases. So they're saying in 2007, Ciroc sold only 75,000 cases per year. In just 2 years after Mr. Combs began promoting Ciroc, annual sales grew to about 400,000 cases. That's a big growth in just 2 years. And by 2014, sales of Ciroc had grown by over 3,000% since Mr. Combs began marketing it. So he's a hell of a marketer. To approximately 2.6 million cases sold per year. Due to the power, reach, and efforts of Mr. Combs, Ciroc went from just another vodka to a billion-dollar spirit brand known by millions. So he didn't just make money in the rapping; he made money in this in the spirits industry. But as you know, more money, more problems. In 2013, Combs Wines and Diageo formed DeLeón Holdco LLC, a joint venture, to buy, market, and sell DeLeón Tequila, a boutique tequila brand then distributed in just 18 states and Washington, D.C. You see how they did that partnership? He had his company, and they had their company. Then they made another company, DeLeón Holdco LLC, a joint venture, to create a partnership. They actually, when you read these things, these really help you understand how you need to do your business. Have your own business. Then if you're going to partner with someone, you create another business with that person, or and y'all create an entity together. But you should have your own. See, they all had, Puffy had his own, they had their own. Of course, that company is way bigger than Puffy's company because they were multi-billionaires, billion-dollar company. Despite Mr. Combs' efforts and optimism and Diageo's promises, the party's marriage suffered almost immediately due to Diageo's neglect. You see how they termed that? That show you that getting a marriage license is just another two corporations merging together. Because they said the party's marriage suffered almost immediately due to Diageo. So marriage under the law, that really marriage is the joint venture of two corporations. I didn't say, I'm reading it right here. This is not slang. This is all, they just use that as, no, that is what marriage by definition is from a legal point of view. Okay? This is a legal document. This is a legal complaint. The parties had formal and informal agreements in distribution, investments, and brand positioning for DeLeón Tequila. Yet Diageo consistently fell short of its commitments. It instead began investing more heavily in other brands, including competing Don Julio Tequila that it acquired in 2015 and Casamigos Tequila that it acquired in 2017. Enamored with a new shiny toys, Diageo's commitment to and focus on DeLeón inevitably suffered. Left alone to save DeLeón, while Diageo invested more than $1 billion to acquire competing brands, Mr. Combs, they had this redacted, but Diageo again left Mr. Combs out to dry. Diageo insisted on an inferior design using inferior materials, and even worse, launched those redesigned bottles without any marketing support. The public was understandably confused and the product continued to fail. Now, if this complaint is true, right? If this is true, let's look at this. This is why you can't partner with people. This is why you got to be careful who you partner with. Because people, they partnered with him. It was through his efforts that they were selling millions and became a $1-billion spirits company, right? Then when he partnered with them, what you think the goal was? If this is true, the goal was to stifle his growth, to keep him from becoming on the level as they were gonna be. So they invested money into killing the brand based off what this is saying. I mean, think about it. These are smart business people that have lawyers, they have accountants, they have all kind of people who have business sense. And when you're dealing with Europeans, Eurocentric ideals, they will invest money into destroying your brand. Yo, he's doing good. Let's go over there and help him. Help him do bad. Because that's basically what I'm getting from it. Am I missing something? But see, him being naive, thought, yo, this is a big brand. They partner with me. This is a good deal. You see? And he went for that. But it was really a setup, according to this complaint. Diageo's refusal to abide by its obligation and promise escalated in the late 2010s. So this has been going on for a long time, to the detriment of DeLeón Tequila. For example, Diageo discontinued DeLeón's 375 milliliter SKUs, the popular half-bottle option offered by nearly all major spirits brands, creating sharp sales declines in key markets. So they took away a half-bottle option, which is a common practice in this business. So what did you don't do something like that without a strategy of making it fail. And now again, this is just my opinion. It's based on what I'm reading. And none of this is really fact because they shut the case down and they came to some behind the closed door agreement of some undisclosed. Just imagine the legal fees. And one of the things that Dr. Umar had brought up was the legal fees was killing Diageo. You know, you're paying these high-priced lawyers. They paying them all of this money. They're overbilling. At some point, you got to say, cut your losses. You already invested in a company to cause it to fail. Now you invest in fighting to say that you were not racist about your dealings. There's a lot of legal fees. There's a lot of money involved. All right? But it's a multi-billion-dollar company that can do that. In 2020, the other unfair treatment DeLeón reached new heights. Amidst a growing shortage of agave, the key ingredient in tequila, Diageo brazenly snubbed DeLeón they redacted this. So I don't know exactly what they did. The result of this systematized neglect, widespread and year-long shortages and out of stocks of DeLeón Tequila in major markets, including California, Texas, and Florida. Adding insult to injury, Mr. Combs learned of these varied inventory issues from retailers, not Diageo. So they didn't even let him know there was shortages. The retailers said they didn't have it. Diageo's failed to provide even this basic courtesy confirmed the worst. This was not a good faith partnership, let alone the trusting marriage Mr. Combs, they refer to as a marriage again. Mr. Combs had hoped for. So when two come, well, anyway, when you're in business with someone, you need to have full disclosure. And if you're in business with someone who is not giving you full disclosure, that's a problem. First, you need to ask them, why are they not giving you full disclosure? That's the question. Why wouldn't they give you full disclosure unless they're doing something nefarious? Something they don't want you to see. Whatever that is. See, I'm not into making assumptions. I'm into dealing with facts of things. And the facts are is if you're in business with something and they're not showing you something and you're making beef about it and you're talking about it, you're bringing it up and they still not showing you, that's revealing. That says something. Okay? And then that means it's time to take action, right? So he did. He took action. While Diageo had undoubtedly violated its contractual obligation and unfairly lined its own pockets, this case is not an ordinary contract dispute in which a party chooses to disregard its contractual promises due to greed and profit. Rather, and similar to the realities experienced by many people of color in the United States, Diageo's treatment of its business relationship with Mr. Combs was tainted by racial prejudices. For example, after Mr. Combs grew Ciroc they say into a billion-dollar brand that had widespread appeal, now we got redactions. I can't see what it says. Diageo's unequal treatment of Mr. Combs is at times even less subtle. Mr. Russ, for example, told Mr. Combs that things would be different if he were a white, not black celebrity. Yeah, that's bold to tell that to somebody. Diageo, in other words, openly admitted that it viewed Mr. Combs merely as a black man that might prove useful in marketing to black consumers, nothing more. Let me stop right here for a second. Black people, African Americans, people of color, whatever you want to call yourself, Native American, whatever you want to call yourself. The buying power of the black community is $1 billion, over $1 billion. That's the buying power. But yet we are last when it comes to economics, right? When the hell are we going to wake up and realize we don't need these people to promote anything for us? We could do it ourselves. We don't need partnerships with people. What we need is camaraderie, getting along. Stop worrying about petty issues, personality difference, and worry about the dollars. Make that a primary focus of working together to make money. Because you don't have to like people to make money with them. And like I said, if you dealing with people that's not giving you full disclosure, you got to take action. Got to. There's just no, or you're going to have a problem. See, let me explain something to you too. This is on a spiritual note. Some of y'all are in doing business or even or whatever level with certain people that need not be there, and you can't get there simply because you won't let them go. Some people spiritually is not deserving of what God got for you. And like any situation where you're supposed to be leveling up, and then you getting all those problems, you gotta look at what your connections are. But anyway, predictably, DeLeón and Mr. Combs bore the brunt of Diageo's conduct. It soon became clear that Diageo has stopped even going through the motions that are to be expected in any good faith partnership. Multiple retailers, each responsible for millions in spirit sales, have reported that despite their interest in carrying DeLeón Tequila and or Ciroc, Diageo never contacted them for potential sale and distribution of those brands. So what was the partnership for? But to kill the business. He started to do bad under this partnership. In 2020, and from doing it just shows you when you connect with the unscrupulous, you're gonna have problems. In 2020, Mr. Combs confronted Diageo and demanded that Diageo commit to change its ways. At least on paper, Diageo agreed. But Diageo's paper promises turned out to be little more than a way to make Mr. Combs sit down and shut up. Despite committing to be transparent about the production and sale of DeLeón Tequila, Diageo deceived Mr. Combs when he asked about such issues. For example, in 2021, Diageo told Combs Wines that its glass supply had unexpected disruptions due to COVID and therefore cannot produce as many bottles of DeLeón Tequila as expected. But when Combs Wines spoke with representatives of that supply, they said the shortages were due to planned maintenance that occurs every 7 years. Maintenance that Diageo surely knew about but never told Combs Wines. The breach of promises and disrespect still had not ceased. So if you know that a company is got planned maintenance every 7 years and that they're going to have a limit, you're going to have a limited supply, you would stock up ahead of time, right? That what any good business person would do. They would purchase more ahead of time to plan for this shortage that's going to come because they won't be able to produce, right? This time, with understandably little trust left in Diageo team, Mr. Combs took action immediately. Then they redacted that. Diageo's retort to these follow-up inquiries spoke volumes about its backwards treatment of Mr. Combs. While refusing to honor its own promises, Diageo demanded that another redacted sentence. In short, Diageo didn't care about respecting its obligations to Combs Wines. All it cared about was avoiding public accountability for its own discriminatory conduct. In November 2021, Combs Wines agreed to try diplomacy one more time to make the partnership work. And then it's redactions. Combs entered into this agreement based on what turned out to be false promises that Diageo would correct its course, commit to meaningfully support the DeLeón brand, and finally live up to its diversity promises. But as explained below, those promises have not been kept and appear to have never been sincerely made. Then they have several lines redacted. 29. For whatever Diageo's intentions were, its actions violate both the spirit and letter of the partners' agreement. More redactions. Yet again, Diageo's seemingly strong commitment turned out to be a paper lion. Despite booming tequila market and more redactions, Diageo has continued to produce underwhelming and disproportionately low quantities of DeLeón Tequila. Most recently, Diageo has crippled DeLeón's growth by failing to keep up with consumer demand for DeLeón's Reposado Tequila. As Reposado Tequila surged in popularity, Diageo did not adequately ramp DeLeón's production, causing DeLeón Reposado to be consistently out of stock and forcing interested DeLeón consumers to look elsewhere. Adding salt to the wound, the Combs team had for years foreseen this trend and had pushed Reposado as the would-be or should-be hero of the DeLeón portfolio. Had Diageo not discarded the Combs team guidance back then, the DeLeón brand would never have been caught flat-footed in 22 and 2023. 32, there's some lines that are redacted. Even the bare minimum equal positioning efforts have proven too much for Diageo. Unlike other tequilas, DeLeón doesn't even have a dedicated brand page on Diageo's website. The unequal treatment extends to sales and distribution. Redactions again. This lack of attention has become clear in the marketplace. Multiple distributors have told Combs Wines that Diageo has not spoken to them about DeLeón or Ciroc. Other distributors lack even the basic information about the brands needed to decide whether to carry the brands. The sort of information that any good faith distribution effort would ensure was widely circulated. Numerous market participants, both inside Diageo and independent of it, have correctly diagnosed this problem as one of racial stereotyping. A Ciroc brand executive, for instance, they redacted that sentence. Major retailers and potential business partners have likewise confirmed to Mr. Combs that Ciroc and DeLeón are positioned by Diageo as ethnic brands. The predictable result of Diageo's intensely restricting DeLeón's sales footprint is that DeLeón's sales footprint has remained restricted. Third-party data confirms that DeLeón distribution has hovered at minuscule levels, while Casamigos, Don Julio's distribution rates continues to increase year after year. And even in retail locations that sell DeLeón, its products are only in a few facings. Compare that to Don Julio and Casamigos, who not only have many multiples more retail facings than DeLeón, but also have increased those retail facings almost every year. Likewise, while Don Julio and Casamigos have more than doubled their sales velocity in recent years, DeLeón lags behind. As of 2022, DeLeón Tequila is distributed in just 3.3% of all possible outlets, as compared to 36% for Don Julio's, 34.4% for Casamigos, a disparity that is all the more egregious given that the party's DeLeón partnership predates Diageo's acquisition of these other brands. Under the joint venture agreement, these types of violations cause, and then this is some redactions. So, wow, listen, when you have that much money that to invest in making something lose, is just on account of someone's ethnic background and not making. I mean, see, that means they're counting his money. He's a billionaire. He was a billionaire. And with this brand, with the type of growth that it was doing, he would eclipse other companies. And you know, the power established ain't going for that. So we got to sabotage. So not everybody's your friend. You see? So Combs Wine is now left. What's this background noise? Hang on a second. Oh, that's something out there. My headphones broke. Yeah. Hold on a second. Give me one. Let's go back to it. All right. There was some like not loud rumbling, like something going overhead. It didn't sound like a regular plane to me. So I thought it was coming through my headphones. It was so loud. Under the joint venture agreement, these types of violations cause, and then they got a redaction. Combs Wine is now left with no option but to seek injunctive relief from the court to enforce. Redacted. The growth of DeLeón Tequila brand has suffered significant headwinds and damage due to Diageo's intentional and willful conduct. At this point, only a binding enforceable court order will finally put Diageo on a path to compliance and force Diageo to end its deception, discriminatory, and damaging behavior. And then there are talking about the party's jurisdiction and venue. Plaintiffs Combs Wine Spirits LLC is a New York limited liability company headquartered in 9200 Sunset Boulevard, West Hollywood, California, 90069. Combs Wines is wholly owned by Mr. Combs. Defendant Diageo North America, Inc. is a Connecticut corporation headquartered in 3 World Trade Center, New York, 10007. DeLeón Holdco LLC is a Delaware limited liability company. Combs Wines and Diageo are members of a DeLeón Holdco LLC. So they created the company and formed it in Delaware. New York has personal jurisdiction over Diageo because it is headquartered in New York. Venue is proper under Section 503 of the Civil Practice of Law and Rules in the county in which one of the parties resided when it was commenced. Diageo is headquartered in the county of New York. Combs Wines is also a New York limited liability company, which is registration in the county of New York. This is a court of competent jurisdiction. Assignment to the commercial division is proper because Combs Wine seeks equitable relief, and this action principally involves Diageo's breach of contract 22 New NYCRR section 202.70B. Background. Then it goes into the background of the cases, and maybe I'll just go ahead and read that. I got time. Background. Diageo PLC is a British multinational, multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company that owns leading alcohol and spirits brand. Diageo is a New York-based subsidiary of Diageo PLC. In 2007, Diageo had a diversity problem. It had no prominent black partners. One of Diageo's vodka brands in 2007 was branded Ciroc. Ciroc was a struggling brand at the time, selling nearly meager 75,000 cases per year. Diageo was understandably desperate to get a known spokesman to promote and sell Ciroc. So Ciroc was owned by Diageo. Sean Puffy Combs came in and boosted the sales by 3,000%, and this is the thanks he got. In 2007, Diageo reached out to Mr. Combs. At that time, so they came to him. Mr. Combs was already a Grammy Award-winning rapper, actor, record producer, and executive. Of course, he was well known. They thought he can help them get this brand off the ground. Mr. Combs was already a Grammy Award-winning rapper, actor, record producer, and executive. As an entrepreneur, he had already launched numerous successful businesses and brands, including Bad Boy Records and the Sean John clothing line. Mr. Combs was also the menswear designer of the year in 2004 and would go on to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Black Entertainment Television Award. So he was someone to sought after in business because he had several successful businesses already. So if this was their brand that they created and he partnered with them to build it, why? To make money. And then when he built it, they came in they wanted to destroy it. So it's not like I had to kind of misunderstood something. I missed something. Like Sean Puffy Combs created that. He didn't. It was their brand. They got him in on it to help them build it. And once they saw it, then I guess the partnership came when she said, listen, I did this for you guys. I want to become partners with you guys now. And that's when the problems began. See, it would have been fine if he was just promoting their brand 100% for them. Yeah, he was good. You little slave boy, go over there. You just be our little fetching and stepping and fetching guy. But when it became the partnership, that's when things fell apart. Because now he's on equal footing with them. Because they're partners. You see? Diageo approached Mr. Combs hoping that a popular black celebrity would both boost sales and help addressing a troubling diversity problem within the company. So they came to him because they had diversity issues. Because they had not partnered with anything black. They didn't come because they really liked him. He was the best option that they have in the black community. And they saw a way to, it wasn't so much for profit for Sean Puffy Combs, it was more for their image so that they can hold on to their stockholders or please their stockholders. So it's never about who cares, this Ciroc making money. They probably did that, 75,000 cases. They probably didn't even expect Sean Puffy Combs to go all in and be able to make this brand sell. They didn't expect that. They just needed him in there to fix a diversity problem. That's what it's looking. That's what it's starting. The picture is being painted for me here. Diageo promised Mr. Combs that if the Ciroc ambassadorship was successful, redactions, all of these are redacted. I can't even tell you what it says. In the first several years of Mr. Combs' ambassadorship for Ciroc, Diageo consistently ran out of popular Ciroc flavors, under-delivered distribution. In 2008, Ciroc Blue Dot ran out. In 2010, Ciroc Coconut ran out. And in 2011, both Ciroc Coconut, Red Berry were out of stock in numerous key markets, including New York City, Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Nevada, and California. Despite Diageo's oversight, the brand began to grow based on Mr. Combs' substantial efforts. It still grew even with all of these. See, they didn't plan on doing nothing. And I think he should have got a hint before he partnered with them that, look, yo, that with all these things running out. And to be fair, he probably didn't know it was ran out because he's at the top of the thing. He didn't know. He's getting into this business. He didn't probably know about the distribution and the retailer issues because that wouldn't reach him because he's so high up. And then when he found out, wait a minute, there's a supply issue here. And why is this up? Because lack of what do you call logistics on Diageo's part, making sure things were flowing smoothly because it was simply for what? Diversity. We got someone who cares how the brand does. We just got this guy in here to make us look good. Ciroc was a powerhouse in the alcohol business with annual sales as high as 2.6 million cases. Indeed, public data shows how Mr. Combs used his worldwide reach to help grow Ciroc's global sales volume by many multiples. And they got a chart here. 2009, then all the way up to 2014, 2.6 million cases. 0.4. It's crazy. Diageo and Combs Wines entered into an agreement to sell DeLeón Tequila, but Diageo began investing in competing brands to the detriment of DeLeón. Due to the success of Ciroc, on September 9, 2013, Combs Wines and Diageo formed DeLeón Holdco LLC, formerly D/CE Holdings LLC, to purchase boutique tequila brand DeLeón. Diageo promised to be passionate about this joint venture and agreed that it would invest to grow the brand, even promoting the acquisition in Forbes' interview. Unfortunately, Diageo was only interested in the PR benefits of partnering with a black businessman. From the very beginning of the partnership, Diageo actions showed a clear intent to sideline and stereotype the DeLeón brand, resulting in ineffective brand management. Combs Wines repeatedly lacked any meaningful say in critical aspects of DeLeón's pricing, finance, and supply. These failures resulted in DeLeón failing to meet expectations, and Combs Wines was consequently constrained in its ability to grow the business on its own. Diageo's disinterest in developing DeLeón into a sustainable long-term partnership became transparent when it began acquiring tequila brands that competed directly with DeLeón. For example, in 2014, only a year after entering into the DeLeón joint venture, Diageo agreed to acquire the competing tequila brand Don Julio and then committed to spending $400 million to grow it. In 2017, Diageo spent a whopping $1 billion to acquire another competing tequila brand, Casamigos. Following its acquisition of these competing brands, Diageo effectively abandoned DeLeón. Diageo instead focused its market positioning efforts on brands like Casamigos, with its founders George Clooney, Randy Gerber, and Mike Meldman. A aviation gin, which its owners Ryan Reynolds and Kettle One, with the Nolet family as their preferred choices for the broader market. So all of these were Europeans that they partnered with, and they put his Puffy Combs brand on the sidelines. And I can't read anymore because the rest of this is redacted. Diageo also discontinued the production of the popular 375 milliliter bottles, causing a sharp decline of DeLeón sales in key markets. Diageo's neglect of DeLeón also resulted in sort of careless mistakes and unforced errors that comparable Diageo brands were not subjected to. Hold on. Let me say this. While I was taking a drink of water, something came to me. The European is taking care of his own. That's what he was doing. Like, they partnered with the Europeans like themselves, and they're gonna take care of themselves. The question is, when are we gonna take care of ourselves? As you can see, these people, yeah, they're partnering with you for a look, for propaganda. Oh, we do include black folks. My point is, why do we need them to include us? Yeah, maybe they are a multi-billion-dollar business, right? And you could use their leverage to make your brand bigger, but at what expense? At some point, they were not a multi-billion-dollar company. They built it to the point that it is. With strategic partnerships amongst ourselves, we can do the same thing easily. Even with opposition. It's strength in numbers. The problem is some of us are forced to go solo because we can't work. The ones that have the vision and to make things bigger, it's very few and far in between. Because once you get if you ever been in partnership with people, they tend to start thinking very small and start thinking about themselves only. And self-preservation, instead of towing the line when things get difficult, maintain, because that's you can't do bad forever. Nothing stays the same. Nothing stays on the bottom forever. Comes up through perseverance and working through things. You see? But because of these things, we tend to, first of all, we're not really taught about business. We're not really educated on money and how it works and how we can use it as a tool, how we can leverage it. We're not taught properly about credit, because most of the people who teach about credit, go get you some credit cards and do this and that. They bums, and they don't really know what they're talking about when they talk about this credit stuff. You want to know about credit? Go talk to these multi-billion-dollar corporations. They know about credit. That's how come they multi-billion dollars. These little penny-ante people telling you about credit, how to get this, and liquidate your credit cards, all this BS. Everybody who talked that liquidating credit card stuff right now are bankrupt. I know several people that taught that and lived on that, and now it's all come to bite them in the ass. Yes, it's good to learn stuff, but listen, if I want to know how to run multi-billion-dollar corporations, I got to go talk to a multi-billion-dollar corporation, someone who's running that, and partner with them. I can't be partnering with people who themselves are struggling. You see? I got to go to the people that got it going on. Now, imagine if he had this brand and he partnered with other people of his status that looked like him, and what kind of powerful force they could have. Without knowing, they're not distributing. They could create their own brand, because you can go white label stuff. They got companies that are white label, and you put your label on it and sell it and promote it. Take your little time, but you'll do it. But anyway. Both Diageo's design and rollout of the new bottle was disastrous. For starters, Diageo launched the new bottles into the market without any marketing support, resulting in confusion within the marketplace. Equally damaging, the defect in Diageo's slapdash design, the sticker on the new bottles were prone to bubbling, making the product look cheap. Given these blunders, the rebranded DeLeón product unsurprisingly did not take off. DeLeón's poor sales were all but guaranteed by Diageo's failure to keep DeLeón on shelves. Throughout 2019, DeLeón suffered material out of stocks nationwide, causing major damage to the brand and costing DeLeón millions of dollars. But simply, Diageo actively harmed and continues to harm DeLeón by investing in competing brands and recklessly managing DeLeón's marketing, distribution, and sales strategies. Brand awareness continues to struggle, harming DeLeón sales, which are fully dependent on Diageo's support to position the brand and efforts to increase distribution. Diageo's neglect is influenced by its regrettable racial animus. Throughout his partnership with Diageo, Mr. Combs emphasized his commitment into increasing diversity and helping Black entrepreneurs. Oh, so he went in there and tried to bring people up. He repeatedly discussed issues facing the Black community with Diageo's leadership, imploring them to do more. While Diageo took steps to muster favorable PR, Diageo's treatment of Mr. Combs behind closed doors demonstrated its glaring hypocrisy. For instance, on June 12, 2020, Diageo announced a $20 million community fund to support social justice and help Black communities and businesses recover from the pandemic. Ivan Menezes, Diageo's PLC CEO, declared that Diageo has no tolerance for racism, injustice, or unequal treatment, and that Diageo was committed to taking every step necessary to champion equality everywhere. Despite these lofty public pronouncements, Diageo refused to address its discriminatory treatment of Mr. Combs. Mr. Combs stressed that DeLeón and Ciroc need to be marketed to the public at large, not just as Black brands or brands that do well in certain accounts or zip codes. Despite Mr. Combs' advocacy, more redactments. And even when Mr. Combs identified specific examples of matters that were racially insensitive, Diageo ignored him and, worse, repeated the same racially charged action. For example, in advance of launch of Ciroc's watermelon flavor, Mr. Combs and his team explained that Diageo needed, and then they redacted that. I could kind of guess this is a watermelon flavor. Okay. This is redacted. This paragraph 69. 70, Steve Rush, president of Reserve and New Business in Diageo's, eventually revealed Diageo's true attitude towards Mr. Combs and the Black community. At a meeting on or about October 10th, 2019, Mr. Rush told Mr. Combs that some within the company's leadership resented him for making too much money and admitted that his race was probably part of the reason. Diageo, it's redacted. Mr. Rush told Mr. Combs that if he were Martha Stewart, his brands would be more widespread. Unfortunately, other Black business people besides Mr. Combs has felt the ill effects of Diageo's racial typecasting. Groundbreaking Black artist Pharrell Williams alleged in a lawsuit filed in 2013 that despite entering a 3-year contract to produce and distribute his alcohol beverage Q Queen, Diageo shut down the partnership in breach of the parties' agreement after just 2 years. They just want you for the face. Just to say they did this, not for you to make money, bro. Even more recently, Ebony Major, the first Black blender at a major whiskey distillery, filed suit against Diageo for discrimination. After she created a bourbon called Blenders, Select Diageo sent Miss Majors a publicity tour to promote it. Yet Miss Major left just a few months later alleging persistent racial hostility, including pay discrepancies and demeaning treatment by coworkers. For example, Diageo sent her on a podcast with a host who was known to be hostile, who asked her what would happen if she got pulled over by the cops. One colleague allegedly asked her, how poofy head, what happened to the dreads? Hey, poofy head, what happened to the dreads? Another told her that Blacks should get over statues. Should get over statues. I don't understand that one. Miss Major's experience paralleled Mr. Combs' own unfortunate experience with Diageo. Accordingly, on April 25th, 2022, Mr. Combs expressed his frustration with Diageo's discriminatory conduct to Diageo North America's then president Deborah Crew via email. They redacted the whole email. Mr. Combs tries again to diplomatically resolve business issues. Mr. Combs has given Diageo every opportunity to correct its conduct. Among other things, Mr. Combs sent Diageo a timeline of their key failures, including those described above, along with proposed paths forward. Mr. Combs also repeatedly raised with Diageo executives his significant concerns about, and then that's redacted. None of these efforts worked. On May 20th, 2020, Mr. Combs reached his breaking point and contacted Mr. Menezes about the issue he had faced throughout the partnership. He stressed, "I will not continue to be treated this way. And if Diageo is truly committed to diversity, you can never treat another person of color this way again." He stated the joint venture had failed due to Diageo's mismanagement and neglect, including, that's redacted. Mr. Combs also explained that the DeLeón continues to be sabotaged by Diageo's management and neglect. Mr. Combs made clear that the DeLeón was not a priority for Diageo. He was not treated as a partner the way he was promised. Don Julio and Casamigos were prioritized over DeLeón, and Diageo repeatedly made unilateral decisions that materially damaged the brand. In response, Mr. Menezes claimed to be committed to resetting the relationship and thanked Mr. Combs for being the key driver of the success of Ciroc by being a champion of the African American people. The whole paragraph is redacted. Now they're going over all of the stuff again. I'm up to like 79. It's so interesting to read these things. I'm done. I'm not going to read anymore. I'm like, oh, here's a link to the PDF if y'all want to read it for yourself. I think I read enough and gave y'all the commentary on it. I hope y'all be able to, that link will work. I hope. So there you have it. So let's go over the timeline here. I have a timeline of what it went down here. Where's my timeline? So here's the timeline. The lawsuit was filed on May 23rd, May 2023. That's when the lawsuit was filed. They settled in January of 24. They agreed to dismiss the case, and then they came to some undisclosed agreement. And then Diageo took over the two brands completely, and Sean Puffy Combs went in separate ways. And then in May 2025, a couple of months after this dismissal, agreed upon dismissal, undisclosed agreement, in March of 2025, 2024, his home was raided. And for sex trafficking, seized firearms, narcotics, and other stuff. And of course, the world infamous baby oil. So, I don't know. And then he was also, I saw an interview where Diddy had said, it came to voting. And I saw this interview some time ago. I saw this interview shortly after he had got arrested. It was just like a brief clip of it. And he was talking about, we not giving anybody our vote, whether they're Democrat or Republican. Make them work for it. And then he, right before Kamala Harris endorsement, all of that, he gets all his rumors come out about him. So that right there, I don't know if that was strategic or not, killed his political influence. Now he's basically got no influence because he's fighting for his freedom right now. And all the money, whatever he made off of that deal, is going towards his defense. You know how much Joe's lawyers got to be charging him, bilking him. They billing hours, they ain't really working. I mean, they got him in there, and they won't even let him out on bail to defend himself. This is a billionaire. Most people get bail to fight for their freedom. But they're locking up like he killed a bunch of people. Like he's this violent criminal. I don't know whether the sex trafficking, all this stuff is true. I don't know. This is what they're saying. It's called allegations. It's alleged. It's not yet fact until he is proven guilty in the court of law. And what happens in this country, we find people guilty. And most of the people that agree and go along with this stuff is only doing that because they hate the fact that the man is rich. I knew it. Making all that money. He can't have got it all by legal means. Especially if he's a black man. Whether it's true or not. You see other groups of people, their celebrities get dragged, but they get the benefit of the doubt. They get a trial. They get let out on bail while they fight for their freedom. You see, all the tricks that were pulled to keep Donald Trump from being president is what made him president. Like these 34 indictments. Shoot, that made a lot of black folks identify. Listen, they always coming after us to lock us up. But hey, he down with us now. He one of the part of the Klan now. He got indictments. He got convicted. Now they has something to identify with. Something on equal. This is shame. That's what they, some of us can identify with. And coincidentally, right before this election, I guess he was about to become a political activist because of his treatment with this company. Because I saw this interview where he was talking about, no, we gonna, because he had plans to go out and campaign. Don't give away your vote unless they give you something. So now he gets arrested right before all of that. Now he has no more political voice. I'm just critically thinking. I don't know. I know that's what he was planning on doing. You see? Jason in Brazil says Abercrombie and Fitch CEO is out on $10 million bail for sex trafficking and prostitution ring allegations. You see? The only reason why you would want to keep somebody in prison while they face trial is to keep them quiet. Keep them from having a voice in the press. It's strategy. Now all of this money he's got, do you know how much money he's losing right now? Endorsements, anything he had, people not wanting to do any business with his brand because of the allegations. So is in this country you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty? Is that really a fact? Or is that just a statement? For some people it's a fact, but for some people it's not a fact. Yeah, somebody said Tiger Woods got that too. And it says, as the saying goes, at the end of the day, you're still an in. Yeah. And somebody said, and Liga says, Obama pushed to repeal the Smith-Mundt Act to allow the media to use propaganda on the people. Yes, he did do that. Kobe Bryant dies all of a sudden after he sued the company over his energy drink. Diddy sold Revolt immediately after he won the case. Yeah, he made big money off of that. He cost that company a lot of money. And because they had deep pockets and political influence, they went after him. I believe this is just the way the whole treatment of how they got him in prison and he can't even fight fairly. Is that's I mean, okay, you got accusations, but bail, because the Constitution is clear about cruel and unusual punishments, and that's what that is, a cruel and unusual punishment. Man, y'all should be sharing this to people that y'all know that have their opinions and they want to speak negatively, one-sided about this case. You know, oh, now yeah, this and this one is this and this one is that and this and that and this that. What about his settlements and all of this? You know, Michael Jackson settled out of cases, then was not found guilty. Why? Because the legal battle to carry on a case. See, most people don't understand what legal battles cost. And sometimes, even if you win, it's better to settle to move on than to continue to make yourself go broke. And this would Diageo, they made a bill. Listen, we'll come to agreement. We'll do this. Shut this case down because we're bleeding here from all the. If they had the power, they would not have let it dismiss. They would have fought it. But why would you mutually agree and withdraw your claim unless there's a benefit there for both parties? Got to think. But there you have it. That's the case. That's the other side of the story that you did not hear in the news, that they didn't talk about. I didn't know it. I didn't even know this was going on like this. You know, usually when there's a suit, oh, this one's suing this one. You didn't hear that. No one even talked about it. It was hush hush. But soon as something else, man, they were talking about Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and they got all distracted with the people that look like you, distracted at all of the wrongdoing they doing. And how people love that Cat Williams interview where he was talking negative about just about everybody. Hey, go look at the views on that. Epic views. How we enjoy the castration of people through social media. We enjoy that. We enjoy hearing about that. And this is actually prophesied of feet hurrying to do bad, to hear bad. There's actually a scripture that says that. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Proverbs 6. No, this is not the one I want. This one. It's a. Yeah. Let me see. If I can find it, then I'm off. Let's see if this is it. No, this is not it. Maybe I'll find it here. Okay, let's see. There's a scripture that said people who run are in a hurry to do bad things, to do evil things. And I would also add that to listen to evil things. I can't find it. Maybe we'll talk about it on Sunday. All right, it's 8:36. I think I read enough and gave y'all something to think about. My voice is getting a little hoarse. So with that being said, peace, prosperity, extreme wealth. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in. Peace. so many people see success in other people's and they want that success, but they don't want to break old habits. You'll never have success that way. If you're going to stay the same person that don't have success now, you're not going to get success being that same person. You're not going to get the success hanging out with the same people. You're not going to get the same success with the same entertainment habits that you had before. You're going to have to give those things up. You got to give it all up.